Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to keep pushing towards getting this truck on the ground so that we can get the suspension adjusted and start final assembly soon. Really hope I'm not being overly ambitious with that, but thank you guys for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Please consider subscribing if you have not yet already. It is free and it helps me a lot. Because when you subscribe, not only do you get to watch the videos and watch this little community that I've built out of people who kind of care about cars and racing and, you know, mechanics and fabrication and stuff like that, but doing it themselves. I am not a professional mechanic or fabricator or anything of the sort. I don't work in anything like that, but I am self-taught, and we've built something like this. And race cars and all sorts of other stuff if you've been around long enough, which is pretty cool. And if you want to support the channel directly, you can go over to GleasonBrosRacing.com. If you've seen up in the background here of me floating around, you see trophies back here. Yes, we do have a race team. Yes, we do have a race car. It is currently not in the shop because I only have one garage bay at, maybe at that. It is in the trailer. It is kind of safe from the weather, so it's aside for now. But we do have a race team. We have shirts for those. We have apparel. We have stickers. We have hats. We have all sorts of other things. Novelty shirts, etc. Go check it out. It's pretty affordable, and the quality is actually pretty decent. So, GleasonBrosRacing.com. Anyway, today we are getting back to work on the truck yet again. Luckily, I have a couple days off this week that I am able to work, and I'm not sick for once, so that's pretty good. We're going to focus on a few major details. I have a few floating around in my head from the last video, first of which being the brake pedal kind of stinks. So what I want to do is go to the back, make sure that those are adjusted properly. They seem awfully loose. I'm wondering if there's a lot of pedal travel because it takes a lot of throw to get those shoes to hit the drums. So we're going to go adjust on those, make sure they're proper. This carburetor is going away. I have that other one from Temu that I bought, and we're going to try it out. I don't know if it's going to work or not. It's going to be interesting to see. But we're also going to go through that as well. Chief among which, nope. Third, we're going to go here, and we're going to add a vacuum port to the vacuum advance on the carburetor. I'm thinking that might help us with this pretty aggressive race cam and engine that we have in here. This is not a very streetable engine, I'm not going to lie to you. I just wanted it for horsepower purposes because she's ratty and snotty and aggressive and stuff like that, but it's a little bit temperamental when it's cold or at low RPMs. So I figure if we give that a shot, that'll help us out a little bit. We'll try it, but we don't know. After we get all that stuff done, I want to put this thing on the ground. And I want to measure the frame heights for the suspension because we got factory suspension up front from a C10, but we got 4-inch drop springs in the back. So this thing's going to be like this. It's going to be dragging the back end. And I want to figure out how to get this thing down on the ground and get the suspension up front kind of put together. Sounds like a lot to do, but I don't think adjusting drum brakes is going to take me very long. I don't think changing a carburetor is going to take very long. So hopefully within a couple days we'll have this thing on the ground. Oh, totally forgot one very important thing. We haven't put the fan in yet. That's got to get done as well. So I'm going to go rip that off the wall here. Well, not that one, but it's hiding up behind here. Get that wired in with this temperature sensor and that relay setup that I got over there. I even found another one. I don't even know where this came from. I don't even think it's a complete one, but it's got some parts and pieces and doodads to her, so we'll just throw that in the old bin of electronics and figure that out later. All right, I haven't been in here in a few days. How's the brake pedal feel? By hand, really not that bad. And it actually is consistent for once. So maybe a few more bleeds and get those drums adjusted. Like, hey, I'm standing here. I might as well show you. See, they are awfully sloppy. And if you go like this, there's nothing touching. So I think we'll pull the lug nuts off. We'll put the thing in neutral because the park ball actually works. See? It ain't moving. So we'll put her in neutral so we can roll it around a little bit. And hopefully we can get them adjusted properly. I forgot about this too. I got to throttle return spring on it. But you know what? That can wait till we put a carburetor on it. I think what I'm going to do is I might make my own throttle spring bracket for this thing, because they give you, like, they drilled a hole in it right there on this thing, and it should go down to like this one down here or something, but I tried it. Absolutely does not fit. So I'm probably just going to do this the old school way and just hook it around like up here like this, and just kind of put a bracket down here. I'll take a thick piece of metal, which I actually have a giant scrap piece of one, drill a hole because that's tapped, go like this and around, and just drill a hole into it and stretch it into it. So there's our master plan for now. We got to get to work. And first things first, I'm going to start on the brakes, just because it's already in the air and I want it on the ground. If we get the brakes to feel good, then it won't be a problem putting it on the ground. Boy, I really want to see this thing move, though. For drum brakes, some of y'all out there are older guys, and you've probably seen one of these. Mac S7A. This is a drum brake adjuster tool. I'll tell you what, this thing is quite old. I don't even want to know how old it actually is. It probably predates my father. So I'm just going to get after it and see if this thing helps. I don't know. Maybe I'll just pull the drum off, use a pair of channel locks or a screwdriver or something. But I'll just grab all of them. That'll probably help. Those took a lot of adjustment, I ain't gonna lie to you. Why don't we hop in? Why don't we just get right in and see how this thing feels? Oh, wow. That is a lot different. All right, so it probably still needs a little bit of a bleed, but it feels 10 times better now. That thing traveled so far because of how much adjustment those things were out. Now it kind of feels like a brake pedal. I'm sure when we put vacuum to it, I bet you it goes down further. So it probably needs a little bit more bleed. But for now, I don't know, man. It's way better. My only problem with the rear end of this truck is the unfortunate side effect of having somebody else build a bed on it that is that far off the frame rail to where it fits a stock wheel and a stock rear end and stock everything. That's fine. That's great. That's dandy. I don't even think that these rear fenders are right. I think somebody cut them up in the inside here on this lip to get it to fit. So for me to fit the wheels that I have, which are literally 1990 Chevy 1500 wheels, I got these. Oh yeah, they're that big. They're 2-inch spacers, which I hate. But these were a lot cheaper than a brand new set of wheels. So for now, I'm just going to paint the wheels black and throw them on the truck. And I'm also going to use these. We're going to use actual Loctite and not the really cheap, gross Chinesium tube of whatever this is. We're just going to throw that away and go grab us a nice huge bottle of Loctite 271 and just torque those down. I'll probably put 80-85 foot-pounds on each one, red Loctite them, and leave them. And do a lot of this. If I could do multiple sets of fingers, but my hand doesn't work. Alright, I'm taking a look here at this carburetor I want to put on. Now, in the last video I said, oh, it came with a booklet. I'm not going to use that. And then I looked at it, and I opened it up. This is the funniest thing I have seen in a long time. I actually died laughing, and then I revived myself somehow. Look at the outside. It's the carburetor. It's all the knockoff carburetors, right? And then there's nothing on the back. But you open it, it is photocopied instruction manual from Holley. They even have the names in it. Look. Aluminum 4150 Ultra XP series. That's definitely not it. Holley Performance Products has written this instruction sheet for the installation of the Holley Aluminum Ultra XP carburetors. I don't think copyright infringement translates very well into Mandarin, to take that from Top Gear if you're a longtime viewer of that. But this is literally a Holley instruction manual. They just photocopied it. The best part is, once you get to the end of it, there it is. Dear sir, thank you for choosing our carburetor. Blah, 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 don't care. Email 365055161@qq.com. I trust that implicitly. All right, so let's dig into this thing. Now, we've done that before, but I want to make sure that this thing's not going to completely come apart or something's going to happen. Now, this thing has adjustable air bleeds, much like a Holley XP. So I took a little screwdriver and I just touched them. And they were pretty tight, but they were not, let's just say, American adult tight. Right? So they're okay. And they got, oh, yep, there we go, a little extra tight there. Could be a temperature difference. There's a little extra tight. My only thing that I don't like is that I can't tell what size the squirters are. They put numbers on the air bleeds, which I can see, but they don't put numbers on that. So I also figured out that the accelerator pump diaphragm right here is jammed into it. And if you try to adjust the accelerator pump arm on a Holley, what is it? It's 2 3/8 wrenches. But since this isn't a Holley, you need 2 10mm wrenches. Okay, so if we need to get that off of it, we got to tighten it. I'll have to investigate this further later date. But that thing is absolutely ranked on there. Let's see, we've got some kind of a pump cam in it. Not sure how that thing works, but we'll have to investigate that as well. Oh, hoo-hoo. Hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Yeah, noticed that right away. What is this inside of there? Wow. Check that out. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that is a absolutely destroyed O-ring. That's good. It's good when you have those on there. You don't need an O-ring there. You know why? Because O-rings don't stand up to fuel. We're going to have to change those. Luckily, this other Chinese thing that I bought has the right inlets for that and for a double flare fitting. I'm just going to keep going, looking at this thing, changing things over, reusing whatever gaskets they have on it, and I'll get back to you. But this thing is, we're also going to have to reset everything, like idle mixture screws, make sure they're in the right spot, like tighten them down 1.5 turns out, something like that. I'm actually thinking about pulling the idle mixture screws all the way out of it, just to make sure they're not over tightened and snapped off in the ports and stuff. Then I might pull the bowls off just to see if I'm just going to blow it apart. Alright, I took a little lunch break, but I got this thing apart. Everything looks, I mean, okay. Everything's also covered in oil. And by oil, I mean oil. Like, this thing is actually bubbling out of the accelerator pump diaphragm. It is oil. But you can take a look in here. It's actually kind of neat. You got a brass float that's been clearly soldered together. It's 2-piece. I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't leak. Oh yeah, I got to take that off. Pump. Diaphragm seems to work. Now, on the primary side, I took a look at her, and it looks exactly like a Holly carb. I'm not kidding. The casting kind of sucks a little bit more, so it's not great, but I mean, it's there. It doesn't look any different than a Holly carb. I adjusted the idle mixture screws to a base. This power valve in here doesn't really move. So I went to the box and I grabbed a brand new Holly. So this is a 6.5. I think that'll work pretty good. It's got what I can read. I can't really read it. It's very small. They didn't put it in the side. They put it in the tiny little lip of this. It's like, yeah, that's a great place to put it. But it says 68. And there's no number on this power valve. So who the hell knows what it is? We're going to take that out, put a 6.5 in it. On the, let's see, secondary side, there is no power valve. It's got a block off in it, which I'm not really mad about. I'm taking a look at it, and I'm like, just kind of looks like a metering block. It's very sloppy. Like, they put sealant on stuff, and it's just poking out. I look at, let's see, what do we got? Jets. 76. All right, so it's got 76 jets with a block-off plate on the secondary side. Not exactly mad about that. It seems like it's a setup that we can just bolt on and try it. So I'm going to swap the power valve out of the primary side, wipe off a little bit more of this oil. I don't know about the primary lever here because it feels like it's kind of really bottoming out the diaphragm on the accelerator pump. So I want to see if that bolt is any good or not. Other than that, we're going to just slap her back together and probably put it on the truck. Simple. Hopefully it doesn't leak. Oh, that Chinese goodness right in front of my face. Oh, look, a plug. Meanwhile, I had to just kind of make sure this thing would fit. This barely clears. Thank you, Edelbrock, for being mindful of that. If you give her the beans, it clears. So I got to put a throttle return spring on it. Absolutely, it is very stiff. So that'll help a lot, especially with the kickdown mechanism for the transmission. I also got to put the fan on. I'm sick of waiting for that. I got to get that done. It needs to happen. I do not want to wait and have no fan when I'm trying to test things. I'd love to see if it actually works when I go to test something. Also, I can't wait to see how many orifices this thing absolutely porks fluid out of it, because getting these tight on a normal carburetor sucks, and on a knockoff Chinese one is even worse. So I'm thinking we'll put the fan on first, and then hopefully we can wire it up. I know I have a diagram. Hopefully I can dig that thing up somewhere. And if I can get that thing wired up, then we'll fire it up just to see if it runs and how badly it leaks. Also, I found a stem, because this thing is set for quarter 20 still, so it's like factory. From, well, I was going to say Holly. Definitely ain't. I was also going to make a joke, which is probably also very ill-advised, but we're not going to do that. So this also was touching my sending unit for the... It's still not, right? Okay. For the water temp. So luckily, when you tighten things like this down, you can just go and bend it up out of the way, and it's hopefully fine. So I'm going to get to work on the fan. And I'm going to mount that in a very, very fancy and very... I'm just going to mount it. Well, there we go. No big deal. I got the inner fender well here holding some wiring up. I got this relay set here. I had to do a little bit of searching online because a lot of these ports, not really ports, what do you call them? Lines, wires, pins, I don't know, were not what I thought they were. So I went off of the relay, and I think Griffin Cooling had a nice diagram with this exact relay. So I just went off of their suggestion, and the wire coding definitely didn't make any sense from this manufacturer. For them it did, but for this, not at all. So I got the fan just expertly put in here. Trust me, that'll be all right. This thing, you can't even move it. I got it so that it won't fall down because I got straight. Usually in the race car they're this way, and I can just zip tie them straight in, kind of like what I did on the bottom. That's going to stop it from moving back. These are going to stop it from moving down. So I just wanted to make sure they didn't go anywhere. I'm just taking a final look over it just to make sure everything's tight. And I'm thinking I might fire it up. I got the cap off it. I might try getting her up to temp again, seeing if this port actually works with the vacuum advance. I don't know. It's a completely different carburetor. It probably won't work. It'll probably choke and die and drip fuel and spray and who knows. But I'm thinking I might go just do it anyway. Why not? Okay, battery switch is engaged. Let's crank her for a little bit. Is she in park? That's a good thing to ask. Is she in park? No. Oh, that was a little preemptive there. Let's check for fuel leaks. Pretty much guaranteed to see some. I need a flashlight. I know it's daylight, but you know, you really gotta see it. Oh yeah. She's puking pretty much everywhere already. So we're doing good. Alright, so let's shut her down before we even get started. Great. Awesome. Terrific. Why did I know this was going to happen? I just knew it. Went and got my good light. Probably going to need a lot more rags. Hopefully not. But you know what? You never know. Especially with this damn thing at this point. I'm looking for my wireless. Not wireless, but well, this will have to do. My remote starter. I don't know if it'll work with the key off, but we can always try it. It sure does. All right, that's good. All right, show me where you're leaking from. Oh. Oh boy, them floats are very, very high. Oh. They just about filled the sight glass up. That's fun. All right, let's pull this off. We need to know how badly the vents are dumping fuel into the carburetor. And we should have had it off to begin with, because. No leak, though, this time. I think. I hope. You know what? This can go here on the ground somewhere safe. All right. Well, let's try it. The only downside to this is going to be... Oh, Christ. Keys were on. That's good. All right, let's see if the squirters work. Oh my God, that is so hard. There we go. There's all the fuel now. There's no choke. It started. Ish. I put 2 return springs on it. Holy crap, they're too hard. I might have to pull them off just so I could test it. All right, that wasn't so bad. Easiest way to do that is this. Oh, she did not like. All right, give her another shot. Ooh. Yep. Can you just work? Yeah, she's very, very unhappy, and she is lean farting all over the place. All right, we're gonna have to figure out. Oh, I like the fact that my CO alarm's going off when my heater's not on, but it's nice to know they care. I'm gonna fart around with this a little longer, but I bet you she's lean because she is popping all sorts of through the carburetor, and I never touched the distributor, and it ran just fine with that other carburetor on. So, let's take a look. Got a few takeaways. She is steaming quite badly because I got it up to about 200, and the fan didn't trigger on. So I grabbed this ground jumper, and I put it on the end of that right there, the sensor, and I'm like, wonder why that's not kicking on. It should be kicking on at like 190. Well, the temperature gauge is like 200, 210. It's not kicking on. Let's see here. Well, it works now. Relay clicks on. You can actually hear it. Let's see. Yep, relay works. I think the sensor just doesn't work. So I'll have to work on figuring that out too. Fan definitely works. I might just bypass that damn switch and go straight to a switched ground and just turn it on manually if I have to. I don't know. But this carburetor, she's very unhappy. I mean, it runs, just doesn't run very good. And it is quite lean. You could see how lean it was. She's lean farting. She's stumbling. Needs squirter, probably jet. I don't know what kind of squirter's in it, but I can rest assured it's not the size it needs. And they're very poor quality. That's another thing I probably should have swapped out for a Holley part when I had the chance. So, there's that. I am going to let this place air out for a while, though. Now, I've got a couple options when it comes to carburetors. I also have an actual Holley HP that I could just chuck on there with a adapter, like a 1-inch spacer, to make it, I don't know, have vacuum. That would be good. Or I could actually bolt on the Edelbrock that I rebuilt, which is I put a new accelerator pump in it, cleaned it out completely, and put whatever a rebuild kit is into it. Granted, that's only a 600, but I guarantee you it runs better than that thing. I just thought that that would be a fun thing to put on the channel just to see if it works or not. It works, but is it good? I don't know yet. How much do we have to put into it to make it good? Or could we have just bought a Holley, stacked it back right on top of it, and been fine? Consumer advice is what you get on this channel at my expense. So I'm going to air this place out, cool the truck off. I already disconnected the battery. And I guess I'll weigh my options and see you tomorrow. Okay, bright and early next morning in the shop. Kind of mulling over some options on the carburetor front. I'm really not sure if I want to continue with this thing. I know that sounds kind of, I don't know, defeatist, I guess. But it just needs so much adjusting that it's just kind of annoying at this point. Sorry. It just is. It's a little bit annoying. But what did I expect for a $200 Chinese carburetor, right? Here's what I would need to do at this very moment. I brought all of my carburetor stuff over. This is my dad's old carb box. It's got a bunch of stuff in it. I got this carb box here with a bunch of stuff in it as well. Especially jets and squirters. And I've got a bunch of parts carburetors way over on the shelf that I'm going to probably rob some squirters out of. I was going to try a few things. First, chuck jet at it. Absolutely throw jet at it, because it has, quote unquote, 68 jets in the primary, 76 jets in the secondary with no power valve. Not uncommon to have no power valve in the secondary. However, I don't trust these Chinese jets. Okay? So what I was going to do was absolutely toss fuel to this thing. I was going to put, 74 jets in the front and 79s in the back. Just dump fuel to it. Then I was going to take these squirters out because they look like absolute garbage, and I was going to put probably 31s front and rear, just to see if it helps. And then I was going to reset all of the idle mixture screws, just start over from there, and then adjust the float heights to about halfway through the sight glass here. Right now, it's pretty much at the top of the sight glass, so the floats are really high, but at this moment, it's not really bothering anything because it's not sloshing. So I was going to try that, or I was going to try something else. Now, if everything fails, I'm going to take my old 2-barrel here that was on it and running and working. I'm going to change the body because it leaks. Now, I've got at least 2 more bodies. Three actually. I got this one here, and I got this one here, and I got this one, but I'm not taking this one apart. This one's not at all coming apart. If I'm going to take any apart... Hey, there's a squirter in this one. What is it? You'll need a light for that one, I think. 31. Hey, I can use that. All right, cool. There's a squirter I could use. And this one is my old Stafford carburetor, which it worked, and I won 2 races with it, but when I tried another carburetor, I found, hey, I'm probably down 10, 15 horsepower. So that one's got a good squirter in it as well. So I was just going to change that body and put it on the base plate that has all the vacuum lines running through it so that I can hook up all my accessories. I don't mind tuning things. It's just that this type of stuff takes time I don't have. You know, I'd really rather have tires on this thing and have it on the ground and have me measuring ride heights and starting work on the geometry in the front end and making sure that it sits level. Because that's pretty much one of the only things I got left in the front suspension, is making sure that it sits properly. Then once I get it sitting properly, we can install the sway bar, just so we don't have like death wobble, and start putting the front clip on the truck and finishing up all sorts of little tiny stuff like bleeding brakes. I mean, and then doing the wiring, just front light wiring, you know, because that's all I really need to get this thing done. But if I'm messing around with stupid carburetor stuff, I'm never going to get this done. So I'd almost rather just put the 2-barrel back on and just leave it until like the summer when I can come through and play with carburetors again. So that's what I think I'm going to do, unfortunately. I think I'm just going to put a good 2-barrel together because I got gaskets, I have everything to do it, and just put it on and leave it. I'm just going to leave it for a while because I don't want to be in here messing around with this carburetor. This thing would be a great video, like on its own. Say, hey, I got a $200 carburetor. Let's see if we can make it work. You know, it would be great topical stuff. So I think I'm just going to shelf this for now because I have way more important things to do, and I don't feel like opening the door. It's cold. I haven't even turned the heat on yet. So I think we'll just find a box. We'll drain these. We'll write notes, and we'll put on here what we think it needs and what it does. And I don't want to be hurting this motor because of how much it's lean, popping, and farting and running like garbage. We're going to put a good carburetor on it for now and leave it. One thing I'm going to have to do, though, is clean. Because I left the cap off to burp the radiator while we were running it yesterday. And there is antifreeze everywhere. Because it got down into the pulleys and spun it everywhere. So I think I'm going to give this thing a good carb cleaner bath and wipe her down. Alright, I'm not interested in dealing with carburetor stuff right now, so I just put that back on because I know I can tune it. I know that it, hopefully, fingers crossed, doesn't leak like the last one. I don't remember this body leaking. I just remember it being, for racing, but it's probably going to be fine for street use. I also had another sensor for the water jacket so that it could trigger the fan. I'll give it a shot. If not, I'll just have to hardwire it to a switch and just switch the fan instead. I still got to do a little bit more cleaning with some brake clean and a blower. It stinks like fuel and chemicals in here so bad. I have such a bad headache. I'm going to open the door. And I also have to clean up a bunch of this trash because when I work, it basically just ends up on the floor until I clean it up at the end of the day. But I got to get the door open and I have to dig the tires out because this carburetor stuff is fun to play with, but it's not moving me forward. So we're going to go throw the wheels on it, air them up, make sure there's, plenty of tire pressure in them, at least equal. Put the truck back on the ground, and it's honestly going to be the first time that this truck's going to be on the ground since we started working on it, which is actually going to be really cool. So we also got to figure out where it's going to sit, and I'm going to measure frame heights, maybe take a step back and kind of, look at her and make sure she don't look funny. And then we're going to start pulling the front end apart and cutting. And I know that's not what people want, but that's what's going to happen. Why am I cutting the springs? Well, it's free. And I don't know what to buy. So I'm going to figure out the height based on lopping coils off of the springs. Will it affect the ride? Yeah. Will it move me forward in getting this truck on the road? Also, yes. So I'm just going to cut it equally on both sides and figure out where I got to cut the bump stops off because those are definitely going to be in the way. Once we get the ride height kind of figured out, then we can start putting shock mounts in it and moving even further forward, which is exactly where we need to be right now instead of monkeying around with Chinese carburetors. Holy cow, this thing is squatted in the back. I knew this thing was going to be low, but good grief. So, where do we start up front here? I think we just take... I don't know how many coils I want to take out at one time. We're going to have to cut the bump stops out, so I'm going to need the plasma torch over here, but do you think we just kind of take it easy and do one at a time? Or do we just understand that this thing is... Look at this. Look how far up it is. It's got to be 6 inches taller in the front. I think I might start with 2 coils. Just knock 2 off of it and just drop the hell out of the front and see where we go from there, because... Oh, wow. I think some places call this a Carolina squat. What I call it is... wildly uneven and not drivable. But it is on the ground, which is really cool. And what's not really cool is my garage, because boy, it is warm in here now. And because I didn't use that heater. I actually used the propane tank with a fan behind it. That, and it's helping me out by being at least 40-something degrees out today, so. Alright, back in the air. It's probably going to be the same kind of thing as the race car. You got to knock a ball joint loose and drop the lower and have the thing spring and hit you right in the face and kill you, and that'll be fun. But it's cool to have it on the ground. I'm so tempted, like so unbelievably tempted to fire it up and see if it moves back and forth just to be safe. But like, I think we just continue what we're doing, just get the front suspension done. We got to get at least both springs out because we got to do it evenly. And like I said, this thing is so high in the front. And I need it to be at least level, if not a little down in the front. Look at the upper A-frame angle. That is your upper control arm angle. It is like that. If we could get that to kind of straighten out a little bit, then I'm probably going to have to start pulling shims out for camber just to be safe, but I'll have to look up the factory numbers to make sure that they're good. But those rear spacers I got really tuck the tire in there pretty good. The only problem is I can only put like a 6-inch tire on this, but it's going to be a cruiser anyway. It's not really a hot rod. It's only meant to do a burnout once in its life and just drive around to the ice cream shop, so not terribly worried about it. Plus, tires will be cheaper if I leave the factory style 1500 wheels on it. I'm going to paint them. I have an idea with these wheels. I figured out that the factory 1951 dog dishes fit perfectly on this ring. So if I could get the clips put back into these wheels, fog them black, and put the old wheel covers on somehow, that'd be pretty awesome. Alright, I'm about to pull her off the jack stands, and if you saw in the time lapse, I cheated. I did not take and cut the original springs. Nope, I went to the pile of old race car springs, and I found a set of what I thought was a good rate. I put 1,000-pound springs in the front of this thing. Probably be pretty good on the street. It won't float. It'll be stiff enough that it won't, whatever. It won't wander all over the place. It won't hit a bump and go all over. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay, it won't be too soft. So I chucked those in here, and they are like a lot shorter. All right, let's get this thing in the air, and let's get it off the jack stands and see how it looks. I wish I had a bigger shop. Taking bets now. I cut the rubber bump stops out of here, but the steel ones are still there. How much you want to bet that this thing hits them? Okay, here we go. Oh boy. Oh yeah, that's way better. Doesn't hit them. Like I said, it's stiff, but it's not like too bad. I think we nailed it. I'm looking at the running board down the side here. There, let me bring you in. Dang, that's really close. It might be a hair high, but I don't know if I really want to mess with it. I think that's pretty good. Oh, I should go in here and take that out because I used that to space up the upper so that the spring wouldn't fall out. Look at that. Arm angle looks pretty good. Arm angle looks pretty good. Everything's... By the way, remember my thought with the steering? Came to life, didn't it? Sure did. I think we're going to leave it. Although, I'll be honest with you, this thing looks like it leans over to the right a little bit. I don't know if that's the floor or the suspension or what, but maybe I got some heavy stuff in the right rear of the truck. I don't know. Seems kind of odd. We'll figure it out. If I got to space it up or down or whatever, I will. But it does look like it's leaning over to the passenger side a little bit. I have to figure that out. I don't know what's going on there. So credit to my buddy Phil, who told me, hey, instead of cutting it, why don't you just go look through your pile? Go look for a spring, man. Maybe you can actually find something that works. Seems to have worked. Yeah, we got a little adjusting to do to make sure that the thing actually sits flush and straight. Maybe a sway bar will do that. Doubt it. I don't know what'll happen. Maybe we'll put an 1100 in the right front. I don't know what to do. The springs are the same length. The rear leaf springs are the same ones. They're same part numbers. I don't know what the deal is. I'm at the point right now where we got to start thinking about shocks, because we're going to have to hand build shock mounts, which really are not going to be a huge deal. They're really not. It's going to be some really thick metal, and I'm just going to drill a hole in it so that a bolt, like a shock bolt, can go through it, and the lower already has the perch for it. And my uncle gave me a bucket of shocks from a C10. I'll just go grab, and they're all pretty good, so I'm just going to go grab them and just see which ones I want to use. Maybe I'll cross-reference part numbers to make sure that they're front ones. That way I can buy new ones if I need to, and give it a shot. I don't really know. So, boy, I really want to know if it moves, too. That would be cool. Maybe I'll get froggy and do that. I'm going to take a small break and cool off, because I turned the heat off in the shop. It's 40 degrees and humid outside, and I'm dying in this suit. I'm dying in here. So maybe I'll come out here, see if the thing even moves back and forth if we have brakes, just because it's on the ground. I want to make sure that the systems work. Maybe we'll tune on the carb while the door's open. I know I said I wasn't going to do that stuff, but we got to kind of do it now that it's already on the ground. Give it a shot. See if it works. Okay, we're back to where I said we weren't going to be. I'm going to start tuning on this carburetor just to see if I can get it running again. And then, after that, I want to see if this thing moves back and forth. If it does move back and forth and the brakes work, great. Then I'm going to put a wrench to the upper control arms and the bushings, because I'm wondering if the bushings set to the other height are tight on the other side. I'll do it on this side too, see if it helps level it off a little bit, because I'm wondering if that's just kind of binding it up a little. So anyway, all right. I'm going to get to work on this. I'll come back to you as soon as I get it tuned up, because this could be a process, and I don't feel like editing that out. So, all right. Idling a little high, but when you put it into drive, it'll probably come down a little bit. Let's see if she moves. Oh, this thing is so loud. All right, brake pedal has pedal. Oh. She moves! The brakes work! Oh, we have drive! Hang on. It does work! Backwards again, please. Alright, let's do something really stupid. It'll do it. Brakes just kind of suck, that's all. Oh, gotta go back a little bit, I think. That's neutral. There you go, there's backwards. Alright, I gotta shut her off. Mostly because of that, because it's a little bit off on the tuning. But because, I don't know what's up. It feels like there's a vacuum leak, but this sensor that I put in is also a little leaky. I must have put, or at least forgot to put some kind of thread sealant in it. It's not like it works anyway. That doesn't turn on either, so whatever. We might have to go full manual on the old fan, but it spun the tires. The brakes suck. We got to get the brakes fixed. Got to get the suspension fixed. Got to get the sway bar on. The CO alarm is beeping. That's a success, if you ask me. I'll let this place air out a little longer. So we'll eventually get some kind of solution for this thing to run properly. It kind of sounds like it's got a vacuum leak somewhere. Don't really know where, but that's cool. That's cool. With all the work I put into the transmission of this thing, to have it actually work. You know, it's probably residual. There was a lot of fluid in there that I shut it off, and antifreeze does not kind of evaporate very easily. So, hopefully the radiator's okay. It does heat up awful quick, but it does have a thermostat in it. So there's a lot of stuff to worry about, but we'll worry about that later. Okay, focus is now shifting because we have to get all of the front end pieces figured out before we can start finishing, right? So 2 things. We have to get shock mounts in the front, which is going to require some welding, a little bit of fabricating. Not a huge deal. That's kind of my thing. Even if I'm not that great at it, I can still booger something together that works. Then we got to do the sway bar. I got her laid down here, if you can see it. I don't even know if you can. It looks like it might actually fit. Don't quote me on this, but I thought I was going to have to... Good grief, I'm being attacked. I thought I was going to have to take and essentially drill new holes in the lower and tap them kind of like factory because they're kind of thick stamped steel, which is how they got little clams. They got the lower top of the lower control arm here, and then they've got a clamshell top with a bushing, like a rubber bushing in there to kind of capture the end of the sway bar in it. And I lined it up on both sides, and this inner fender well, I gotta find a place for it. This thing also needs a little bit of cleaning up as well. But it looks like, good grief, I don't know if I even have to move anything. If those bolts will come loose, I might be able to just stab that thing in. And then, I was looking at it again, this sway bar is kind of long. I don't even think I have to build anything to get it to stay on the chassis and keep it away from the steering. It might simply bolt up the other clamshell in the front to hold the other front bushings on, might just bolt straight to the chassis. Boy, if that's the case, I am so going to do that because I'm very interested in as little work as possible to get this thing as complete as possible. By the way, I tested out the steering. And the manual rack with it on the floor, with it, with the steering wheel being this giant, it actually was pretty easy to turn the wheel. I mean, my mom, my wife, people who don't have the arm strength that I have can clearly move this thing around. So that's kind of a win. I also loosened up the uppers, and the whole sag of the truck did not change whatsoever. So I'm thinking the bottoms might have to get loosened up as well, because when you set the height on a car, what you do is with these factory rubber bushings is you loosen them up when you do the alignment. When everything gets set and it's at ride height, then you tighten them down. Well, the ride height on this has changed, so I'm wondering if that is what's binding and holding the truck up in weird directions. So I'm going to try to get the lowers loose because I'm going to be honest with you, these bushings are all shot. The ball joints are shot. Everything is shot. They need to be replaced anyway. That is going to be for another day. For now, I just want to see if we can get this thing put together. Do you remember what I said about, it'll bolt right up by the looks of it. I don't even have to mount nothing. No, the original plan is still in action, not the easy one that I was really kind of hoping I could get away with. Because I had to move that over, and this will not just tilt upwards because that has to stay kind of level. So, initial plan is still kind of in action. We have to build some kind of a platform for this to bolt to. Kind of sucks, but I mean, what are you going to do? I was thinking of taking the really easy route, but if I do that, we will have failures. So we're going to have to do it the right way. And that might be, well, I got a piece of scrap frame tubing hanging around. Why don't we take a look? Yeah, that's not quite thick enough. But what I was thinking of doing was, maybe that way? And then the bolts will fit past it? I don't know. We're going to come up with some kind of an idea. But we have to space it down somehow. And unless I make a piece that's like this, but kind of with thicker metal, and I make a U shape with it and then weld it to the frame. I don't really know what to do with that yet, but we'll figure something out. I got to go search through what we have in order to see what we can do, and I think our stock is a little limited on that. Check it out. That was a real pain. Sway bar is installed. That's pretty cool. Now, hopefully it won't have complete death wobble going down the road. Did it level it? No. Not really. Don't know why. Well, I don't know why we're kind of hunkering down over there on the right rear. I don't think it's the weight of whatever's in there. I mean, the battery's in the right side, but I don't know. We'll figure that out, I guess, at some point. But, oh yeah, I got to get under... well, while I'm here. Actually, no. That'll have to wait. But I got to cut these out. Because they are really close. I mean, look. They are pretty dang close. So the bump stop pads have to go. If they go, we should be pretty darn clear. But in one day, we pretty much, aside from a little adjusting, got the ride height figured out. We got the sway bar installed, and we figured out that it will spin the tires. We do have to fix a little leak in the coolant with that sensor. That's probably my fault. But we made a lot of progress today. We got a lot of stuff figured out. Now we're at the point where basically we just make shock mounts. And then the front suspension is done except for adjusting and repairing because all the bushings and ball joints are real bad. So I'm going to get out of here because I've been in here all day. I am disgusting. I want to eat something. It's league night. All sorts of reasons. So I'll catch you guys tomorrow. After that, I think I'm just going to fix that leak and just run a wire to the fan because I'm looking at it right now and it's really irritating. I don't think those stupid sensors even work to trigger the relay. So I think I'm just going to put the fan on. I don't know if I want to put it on all times or weird. I don't know. We'll figure it out later. But for now, probably just going to get to work. See, my memory of these particular sensors or senders or whatever you want to call them, I tried one in my race car and it never turned on. Just overheated because the fan never engaged. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll just drive around at 210 all day because, you know, the fan doesn't feel like kicking on. This thing, I got this up to an indicated, I'm pretty sure it was at least 200. And it was definitely over 190. And it just never turned on. And then I ran it again, and it got over 180, 190. Kept going. Never turned on. Take the ground plug off. Hit something that's a ground. Fan immediately kicked right on. So that's really irritating. You know, when I buy stuff that actually works, like the temperature sensor, the oil pressure gauge, every other thing that exists on this truck, but you get the cheap crap, that's where you go wrong. So I always lived by you get what you pay for. Well, that always holds true today as well. So guys, I know I'm using this specific angle where you see this side of the truck a whole lot, but I don't have the room to put the camera anywhere else, so I hope you don't mind. This here is a bucket full of parts that my uncle gave me. And it's full of shock absorbers, and I believe, from the looks of it, they are for a C10 pickup truck. There's two sets of what looks to be front shocks, and then a set of shocks I'm not sure what they're for. Might be a more modern one. I'll have to look up the numbers on that later, but I'm just kind of going through them and checking them out, and seeing if they're matched sets, which they appear to be. Yep. 78833, 78833. You want another brand on these shocks, by the way? 78842. Huh, okay. There's a different part number. I'll get to the brand in a second. 78842. All right. Not sure which ones I want to use, but here's what I'm going to do. By the way, yeah, I didn't mention it. These are Sears. Sears branded shocks. That's pretty great. I think they're not, I don't think they're nitrogen shocks. That's a cool noise. But they do seem to dampen a hell of a lot. They do work. So here's what we're going to do. Since they're a little dirty, let me wipe them off. I need to extend them all the way out, which I think they're already there. Now for hanging these shocks, what I'm going to do is take this marker, mark a line there. Now let's compress it all the way. Because it's an oil shock, that's going to be quite easy. Mark a line there. And then we have to open it back up. Measure. Oh, these would be really good hold down shocks for the race car. Oh my God. Okay. Measure the halfway point to these two, right about here. And then right there at the halfway point is where we're going to mount it at ride height. Okay? That way, at least it has up and down travel, so that if it hits bumps or it falls in a pothole or something, there will be enough shock travel so it doesn't bottom out unequally. That's basically what I'm going to do. And send it. Now, I think I should probably cross-reference these part numbers, even though that might be impossible. We could always try. So, we'll see what the difference is. Oh, the unfortunate downside to cutting through things that have 50, 75 years worth of oil on them. I don't know, how old is 1980? 46? 46 year, that was close. It smokes the whole place out. And I have the fans going, I have the roof fan trying to suck the air out, but it sucks. It's woof. But, look at that, shocks are installed. I didn't even have to do anything special. There was a hole in the frame right where I needed it, and I just bolted it into the same hole on both sides. Now look, all four wheels have shocks. It's actually really well controlled. It's got sway bars, it's got shocks. The springs are pretty heavy. They're 1,000 pounds each, but it's a truck. It's got a big V8, it's got a big frame, it's got all sorts of weight. So guys, the suspension on this thing is, for lack of better terms, completed. It's not done, but, you know, we still have to do, like, refreshes. Like, we have to get new ball joints put in and new bushings and stuff. That doesn't need to happen now, though. There is one more suspension item that I need to address, though. And for that, I'm going to have to give you a demonstration. Now, for this demonstration, you're probably not going to see me very well because I don't have anywhere to put this, but this is getting installed really soon. Watch the suspension of the rear of the truck. Now, remember, this thing's on the ground. I'm going to stand on the rear bumper. The shocks are in, the new springs are in, everything's in, but it hits the bump stops. Those are going to be really easy to cut out. If I can get the rear end in the air and the tires off, all I have to do is take the death wheel, cut one side and then the other side because it's a flat plate with 2 rivets in it and a big rubber bushing in the middle, and basically just cut the 2 sides off. It falls off. The little ears remain, but they're no thicker than a piece of sheet metal. So we can get this little problem here sorted out. Okay, let's give her a test. You know, it was kind of funny. I didn't even need to cut them. A 75-year-old, I don't even know how old this thing is. Actually, you know what? It was just a piece of rubber vulcanized to a flat plate. And when I cut it, apparently didn't cut it all the way through. I hit it with a hammer a whole bunch of times, and the rubber popped right off. So I'm like, well, I don't need to cut them. So I went to this side and just smashed on it with a hammer like 3-4 times. And it popped off too. I'm like, well, that was easy. So, less sparks. Uh-oh. That's a bad sign. We're apparently still hitting something, and it's not the bump stops. What could we possibly be hitting? Oh. Well, that's not a good design. Thanks a lot, Speedway Motors. And we're going to have to do something about that, which is actually not going to be too difficult. It's just more time. Okay. I followed the Walmart of hot rodding and racing, Speedway Motors, their design for this rear suspension kit, right? It included the leaf springs, which were the same part number. It included the shocks. It included the shock brace that goes across the top that goes into the frame. The perches, the U-bolts, which if you remember in an old video when we were putting that in, that wasn't very good either. I had to hit it with a hammer to get it around the axle because it didn't fit. Well, the shocks are what's bottoming out. The bump stops were really close, but it's actually the shocks. Because I used this suspension kit from Speedway Motors exactly as they designed it. The problem with that is their design sucked. So all I'm going to do is on the bottom plate of the leaf spring is where they put a tab where the shock mounts to that tab. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add one at the bottom and gusset it. That's just lower. So it gains more shock travel. Because apparently there is none back here. So that's really useful. Well, I guess I'll add that to the list too. But that's going to have to happen another day because I'm out of here for today. I'm going to go do family stuff because they don't really remember who I am. And I have to show them ID when I come in the house because they're scared that I'm some weird intruder trying to, you know, whatever. But anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Well, it's a couple days later, and I didn't expect it to be a couple days later. However, my daily driver became possessed. So I spent at least a few hours yesterday trying to get that thing figured out, which I did. I probably didn't need to buy a new battery for it, but I did because I ran a battery test on it and it said it was 70% life but 30% charged. And I'm like, the alternator works. Why is it only 30% charged? So I figured out that in true Chrysler and Jeep fashion, it was just a bad ground. I just went and cleaned up the grounds. And I have to replace the sunlight sensor, though, on the dashboard because I think during the whole freak-out session that car had, I'm pretty sure some voltage spiked, and it managed to blow that sensor out at some point. So I got a new one coming, but everything else works now. So I took it to work today. It was totally fine. So it was a pretty cheap fix. I probably didn't need to spend $189 on a battery, but I did. And whatever. It probably was due for one anyway since it was 4 years old. All right. Real life update out. I'm getting back to work on the truck, and I really, really, really want to get this thing done ASAP because I'm tired of kind of stretching this thing out. But this was a process. This was a real involved build. And I'm cramming like 30 years of work into 2 months. And it shows. One of the things I'll be doing is taking the fan negative that went to that sensor that I've already plugged off because it was leaking and it obviously didn't work. I'm going to take and run this wire, which is the ground kind of trigger wire that goes to the relay, run it up this way. I'm not going to get rid of this connector or cut it short, though, because if I ever find a sensor that actually works, I would love to use it so that it kicks on automatically and I won't need a fan switch. However, I'm going to wire this up through here and into here and put a switch on the dashboard that runs to ground so that when we ground that switch, it'll kick the fan on. Plus, I have to go out back because I got this. Now, you see it in the Amazon package. Now, there's a very funny story here. I bought these chassis tabs that I have to fix the rear shocks with. I bought these on eBay. These are 1/4-inch tabs. They're about 1.5 inch drop, which I need. I need to drop that thing down quite a bit. I bought them on eBay. I got the emails from eBay. I got the confirmation, the tracking number, everything from eBay. Today, this shows up in my mailbox with Amazon bag, the Amazon slip right here. Oop, I can't get it to you. Right here. The Amazon slip and Amazon packing slips. Like, what? Are we kidding right now? So, apparently Amazon took over eBay. I don't know. This is weird, but whatever. I have to go weld these onto the bottom of the leaf spring plates where the other ones mount up, but I got to get the truck up in the air to do it first. Well, now that the rear shocks are hopefully fixed, I haven't tested them because I still needed this in the air in order to tighten up some of the transmission shifter line bracketry that I hadn't tightened before. But I'm going through my electrical box here, and I'm trying to find switches that I can use to turn the fan on, but I can't find any except for these. Now these, if you can even see what these are like a 3-way switch, but they're 6 inputs, right? Basically, it's on, off, and on the other side, it's the same circuit, on, off. So on, off. If you flip it if you flip it this way, these would be on, but both sides. If you flip it this way, these would be on, right? So these are the only switches I got. So what I'm going to do is just loop them. I'm going to have the fan come in, because it's got to go to ground, right, in order to trigger the relay. So it's going to come in to the off side, and then it's going to loop to a ground on the opposite side. But I'm going to take a jumper wire and jump the other circuit as well. So if I'm not the one driving, if somebody just, any direction they flip it, the fan will come on. So I'm going to get to work on that. That's all tedious and boring work, and I'll let you know how it goes once I stop falling down. Okay, I guess I was a little bit mistaken with the circuitry of said switch. Now, if you turn it on and flip it up, it works. What's better is you can turn the key off and it shuts off. See? But you can also just kind of manually turn it off as well. I thought that you could go both ends by putting a jumper wire into it, but apparently that is not true. I tried. Maybe I broke something when I was putting it in. I'm not too sure, but at this point, turn up, fan on. So I guess that's all that really matters, right? So there we go. At least now I can have a fan on a manual switch. At least now I know it'll work. So now I have to focus my attention forward again. Really got to do a brake bleed. The pedal keeps getting better, but it's not there yet. And I really wish I could do this with a two-person job, but right now that's not really feasible. So I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. Put a bleed bottle on it, hop in, pump it up, check the fluid, hope for the best. It's been working so far, but it's not the best way to do it. You'll bleed them, but you won't get the best one. Like, I used to do this to my race car and have pedal problems all the time. I have to pump brakes up all the time. Then my brother started helping me doing two-man jobs, and pedal came back no problem. So, yeah. All right, I'll just keep doing this. Well, I gave it a shot with the brakes. They feel exactly the same, which I expected because I'm not using the proper bleed process. I should probably put these back on before something bad happens to it, but we'll do that in a minute. Right now, I'm just looking at what I need to do in order to get the inner fenders put on. And this thing is tweaked, this whole body. So it's going to be very difficult just to get these on. I got this flange here, which is where you bolt the 3 bolts on the back edge of this inner fender well to the body. On this side, it's a little different. This side, there is no flange. Matter of fact, there is no factory body here either. This is all aftermarket. I'd say aftermarket, but some guy is called aftermarket, I think. And they just drilled holes in the body. I mean, granted, it pretty much lines up, and that's how they had it on there before. But I guarantee you that I'm probably just going to take a Christmas tree bit with my drill, hog those holes out a lot bigger than factory or what will actually fit, and just use all these washers that I bought. Because when I bought 5/16 bolts, I bought some lock washers, bought some short bolts, but I also bought like long bolts. I think there's 50 of them in each, and they're zinc coated. And I'm just going to use these on pretty much everything. If I hog the hell out of a bolt hole to get the thing to fit, whether it be on these stamped reproduction inner fenders, not the factory rotted out inner fenders, it might take some finagling, but you know what? Those washers will help us get the job done. Obviously, I like to do things a lot cleaner, and I like to do things a lot more precise, and I like to do things that make me proud. Now, this is making me proud. However, the butchery is kind of necessary. And I hate to say that, but when you're working with other people's work, specifically something that's boogered together like this, I appreciate the fact that somebody did that, because even if it is really hacked together and just kind of gross, it saved the truck. But as is kind of the theme on this thing, well, nothing is sacred. So, I'm going to do what is necessary to make this happen. But the first roadblock is kind of a humorous one. I've got wires here, and I've got the headlight switch, which is the high-low beam, and all the headlights kind of go through it. See, I got headlight positive right here. That's your power lead into this, and then it branches off where it becomes these 2 wires. Essentially, one will plug into the one side, one will plug into the other side. You'll get your high beam and your low beam off of that. And I've marked everything. This is the old harness out of the truck. This is clearly a newer harness. So it's capable of holding 12 volts, and it's not a complete piece of crap, but I'm just trying to reuse as much as I can. We've got that switch, and I think it's original. But when somebody came in here and did this patch to the floor, they patched over the freaking bottom bolt. You're killing me. So I have the death wheel out, and I've been trying to open that up, but I've just been showering myself in sparks. I'm going to try my best to get that stupid bit off, which are these ridiculous, I forget what the hell they're called again, bits that I had to go special order because, I don't know, I guess a Phillips or a flathead wasn't good enough. So I'm going to get this off. I have a new one in that box down there. I'm just going to stab that in, and once I do, then I'm going to start putting the inner fender wells on, so that now we can start routing the remainder of these wires that go to the front end. Hey, we're sort of making progress, I guess. Lucky for me, a lot of this is kind of I was going to say self-tapped, but have like provisions so that you don't need to nut and bolt it. Granted, a couple places you're going to have to, like the fender comes under here, so we can't do this one, but this one we do. And there's a lot of flora and fauna still all over this thing. I got the kick switch, or headlight switch, or whatever the hell you want to call it. I had to run the wire back inside the truck because it needs to go there, and then we can basically route stuff. We'll do that later. It's not a huge deal. But it's starting to come together a little bit. I do have to get a little creative on this side, though, because this side is clearly different because, look, those bungs, or whatever you want to call them, the threaded portions of it, are on this side, but not that side, because it's threaded in that way. Now, I already took my Christmas tree bit and hogged out a whole big section of these holes. So now, I don't know what to do with this thing. This thing might have to get cut or bent. But I'm going to try to stab a bunch of bolts through this one, with this kind of spacing it into place at least, and pray for me. After much swearing, die grinding, drilling, etc., these are on. I got basically the only holes to fit are the top ones. They're a little off, not too bad. I mean, again, with a reproduction inner fender well, they're probably not going to fit. And the guy who put this thing together probably put them together with the original inner fender wells that were probably tweaked and torqued and rotted and bent and whatever. So who knows what's going to fit and what doesn't. But for now, we got it in. If we're going to get the fenders to fit, we're probably going to have to do a little bit more massaging of sheet metal, hogging of holes, and other things to try to get this thing put together. But you know what? We're off to a really good start because this, I'm really kind of glad I spent the money on these. Because the ones I had were just destroyed. I mean, we're talking rotted all the way down the sides where you had to connect the fenders to it, all the way down the bottom where you had to connect the front end to, and it's just awful. Just was awful. So I think we're off to a really good start, and if I can get out here before the weather hits again, I gotta go dig out the other fenders that I'm gonna put on this thing. Now they're not gonna be the original fenders, and I know that, but they're better. They're better fenders. The original fenders that came with this thing, somebody had drilled through them and put some big signal light up here. That's not what you're supposed to do. The signals are in the grill. Just get those to work. But the fenders I got have, well, they're worked and they're covered in all sorts of Bondo and whatever other stuff, but they're solid. The other fenders are a lot more rotted. The ones I'm putting on are not. So, and I think my dad actually bought a brand new grill piece for this thing. I think it's like cream colored with chrome, and it's like totally doesn't fit the truck at all, but it's gonna be pretty awesome anyway. Oh, by fit I mean it's the color scheme, but honestly, who cares? I'd really rather have something that's not a completely rotted piece of crap. I don't care what color it is. So I'm planning on spray painting a lot of stuff anyway, so especially this. Got to doll it up a little bit once we finally start getting things to fit this whatever. But I think I'm going to wrap it up for today. I don't know if I'm going to be out here tomorrow. I might just surprise the wife with a nice night out. Or actually, the family, because I think we got to have the kid with us too. So we'll see about tomorrow. But for today, I think I'm pretty done. So I'll catch you guys then. Well, guys, it's the next day, and I think I'm going to have to cut the video off here because of, let's just say, extenuating circumstances. I just spent the afternoon after work. You see this disgusting creeper that I used. It's covered in mud and water and snow and I don't know what that is. Grass? I don't know. Something that used to be the earth. There's a box full of parts here. There's an open bottle of transmission fluid. I had to go underneath my plow truck and fix a transmission leak because of what's coming tomorrow. Apparently, for the third time this winter, and I know people in like Minnesota or, Alaska, I guess, are laughing at me, but we are going to get another snowstorm that's over a foot of snow for the third time this winter. Now, again, I live in Connecticut. I understand winter exists. Trust me, it's cold here for, 6 months. But this winter is... But this winter has been pretty bad for us. We usually don't get a lot of snow, which is why I don't mind living here that much. But to get 3 storms with a foot of snow or more in one winter is... I can't even go through my memory banks and remember the last time that happened to us. And again, you folks who live in places where you get this all the time, that's on you, but you choose to live there. I don't choose to live there, and now I'm getting their weather. So it's like, that sucks. Otherwise, I got to go and get, stuff ready. I had to go get the truck ready. I had to go get my snowblower out and tighten the belt on it. I got a bunch of stuff to do, and I can't really get back to work on this. But we got a lot done. So I know I'm going to have a long video for y'all, and I might as well just shut it off here so it's not any longer so you guys aren't sitting here all day watching it. So thank you guys so much for watching and hanging in there with me. We've been up against it, though, with the weather and, being completely unable to do anything other than this for a while. The race car is sitting in the trailer. I'm kind of freaking out about being able to get it ready now because the snow is just not going away, and we keep getting it, and it just... I guarantee I'll be out here for 2 days, hand shoveling my driveway to get my trailer back here. Anyway, all right, so if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so because it just helps me a ton when it comes to the algorithm and when it comes to reaching new people. That helps me so much. I can't tell you how much it helps. Plus, it's fun to have this kind of community where we do things ourselves, even if we aren't trained in doing that. So it's fun. A very direct way to help the channel is to go to GleasonBrosRacing.com and get some merch. And I'm actually kind of thinking of getting some new novelty t-shirts put together. I'm thinking of designs right now. I got kind of an interesting one for all the diesel guys. I know that you guys are rabid about your stuff, and let me tell you, I like them too. So maybe I'll throw a t-shirt up on there with you guys pretty soon. We got hats, koozies, tumblers, everything, stickers, you name it, and race team merch, which hopefully we can get a couple more of those trophies this year. So guys, until next week, I greatly appreciate every single one of you who's come along on this journey with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time, where hopefully this thing will be very close to done.